Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Explore China. And in this week's episode, we're going to have a look at this book here, Edgar Snow's Red Star over China. And its Chinese name is the Hongxing Zhao Yao Zhongguo. And Edgar Snow is probably also one of the most famous Americans within China. Edgar Snow, he went to China in 1929 and then lived in China for around 7 years, I think. And during this time, he stayed with the Reds, with the Red Bandits or the communists inside the Red District. And he witnessed a lot of the communist policies, the communist life, their spirits, their goals, and interviewed, for instance, Mao Zedong. And this book was first published in 1937, but my edition here is from 1968. It has 400 pages, which describe his time inside China, what he did, and deals about the interviews with the different communists. Then there's some epilogue and notes at the end, and around 60 pages of biographical notes of many Chinese important Communist Party figures, such as Peng Dehuai, Chu De, or Lin Biao, or Mao Zedong, or Zhou Enlai, and so on. And I will tell you in this video why I think this book is good to read, or what I think why you should read it or not should read it, and I will summarize you the most interesting things. I think there are mainly 5 topics this book is mainly about. The first one, of course, is the struggle and the fighting between the Reds and the Whites, while the Reds are the communists under Mao Zedong and the other military leaders fighting against Chiang Kai-shek's white Kuomintang troops, while the Reds are fighting with the poor and the people in the Nongzun, in the countryside, and all the farmers and peasants. On the other side, where on the Kuomintang, they have the rich and all the landlords and the politicians who raise taxes and earn a lot of money, and they exploit the poor. So this is the main struggle from 1927 until 137. This whole civil war is described here. And second, this book is about, I would say, the values or the goals of the Communist Party in China, for instance, and many things which they did, for instance, forbidding food binding and polygamy. Third, this book is about what shows us many interviews with communist leaders such as Mao Zedong, and describes their thinking and development. And also, point 4 is very similar. It's about many Red Army leaders and the Red Army. For instance, Chu De and Peng Dehuai are described in this book a lot. And fourth, there is a detailed description of guerrilla warfare tactics and the way the Red Army fought, and many instances and important events are described, such as the Long March, which was one of the most interesting points out of this book, because I didn't know much before. The Long March took place in 1934 until 1935, I think roughly around 1 year, but I will come to this later again. Now I will first briefly describe Mao Zedong's life and the most important things which Mao told Edgar Snow inside an interview, where Edgar Snow went to Mao's house in Bao'an, and where they were sitting and talking for long nights. And I think it was during this time where Edgar Snow also became a very close friend to Mao Zedong. And there also later, I think there are many famous pictures placed both of them together. I will show it here. And first of all, he describes his childhood, Mao Zedong's childhood, and the books he liked. What I think was interesting, that Mao really enjoyed to read The Words of Warning, published in 1898 by Cheng Kuang-in, who by that time was a modern reformer and advocated parliamentary democracy, for instance. And he also read the Min Li Bao, which is a nationalist revolutionary journal, because of all the imperialist things going around. For instance, that Japan occupied Korea. Regard of this, he said, "I felt depressed about the future of my country and began to realize that it was the duty of all the people to help save it." And from that time, we can see that Mao Zedong was also kind of revolutionist and a very proud one and patriotic one who wanted to fight and save his own country. And later, they also formed, after traveling in Hunan, because he said, okay, I need to go out, I need to see things. He formed the Sinmin Suehui in 1917. And later, in 1919, he first went to Shanghai. And this is where he met Chen Duxiu. Chen Duxiu may be one of the most important founders of the Communist Party in China, who then in 1921, when the Communist Party finally was found, also was present at this famous meeting. And in 1923, the Communist Party formed an agreement with the Kuomintang to cooperate. And during that time, Mao Zedong also held positions inside the Kuomintang and the Communist Party of China. But in 1927, the CCP and the KMT already split up, and I think there was also this famous Nanchang Chi'i, I can't remember, but I think it was Ba'i Nanchang Chi'i. At the August 1st, a revolution began, and also during this time, while the head of the Communist Party still was Chen Duxiu, Mao opposed more and more his view and took a more radical view, while Chen Duxiu still was a kind of too lame and didn't really reform much and was too conservative. And during that time, Mao also was very dissatisfied with the position of the Communist Party toward the peasant movement, because Mao wanted to give them more strength, the peasants, so he became the president of the All China Peasants Movement. Yeah, this so far to his life, and then now to the Long March. The Long March, as I said at the beginning, took place in 1934, 1935, and it can be seen as a strategic retreat. The CCP, the communists in China, they were present during that time mainly in Jiangxi province, also in some big areas of Fujian and Hunan. Apart from this, they had also other districts which were not physically connected, such as Hubei, Henan, Anhui, Sichuan, or Shanxi. And the Great March, it began in October 1934. They retreated because Chiang Kai-shek launched more and more attacks on them in their main bases, in Jiangxi, for instance. And they retreated to the north and northwest. There was this very famous saying that they marched 25,000 li from the one corner of Fujian all the way up to the northwest in Shanxi. But the average march was maybe around 18,000 li, which is still 6,000 miles. And today, I think, if there's still people alive from the Long March, they are regarded as national heroes. And yes, then they walked also throughout many provinces, with one of them being Sichuan, the lowland, and many local people they followed, and they really liked the spirit of the Communist Party and what they stand for, so they joined them. And also, just as the Lolos here in Sichuan should not Red China and the Black Lolos unite against their common enemies, the White Chinese. And this is what they did. So hundreds of these Lolos joined the Red Army. And there was this famous crossing of the Liutingqiao, the bridge fixed by Liu, to cross the Datu River. And this is a very heroic incident during that time. Then now to Edgar Snow, and he came to China in 1929. The first time he went to Xi'An, and this is where he saw and witnessed a lot of starving people because they didn't have enough to eat. While on the other side, in the same town, there were very rich landlords which just lived from the very, very high taxes. So he said the whole system was very bad inside China, that the taxes were too high, that the landlords just gained out of the work of the poor, who then also, some malnourished, died. And one more thing I want to mention is then 1936, the very famous Xi'An shipyard, the Xi'An incident, where the Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek got kidnapped by one of his generals, and who then forced him to ally with the communists in order to together stop the civil war and fight the Japanese. So this is what they also did under the the rebels. They wanted to have the 8 points, one of them being, as I said, end all civil war and adopt the policy of armed resistance against Japan. But only then, 7 months later, or almost 7 months later, Japan, they started, after the Liu Kuo incident, the large attack on Nanjing. And from that time, we know how the story goes. Until 1945, they're always fighting the Japanese in a brutal war. And then after this, there's still 4 more years of civil war inside China until 1949. China was liberated from the Communist Party of China. And if you are interested in these points of the Long March, or the struggle of the communists fighting the oppressors, and the Kuomintang, who really treated unfairly all the peasants and exploited them, and only where according to this book, only the rich gained, and all the poor, which were the biggest part of the population, they suffered. And I hope you liked this short book review. And if you've liked it, please give me a thumbs up. And I wish you a good day and goodbye.